on the sun-drenched coast of France, at the very edge of the nation where the final foothills of the Alps cascade into the shimmering expanse of the Mediterranean, lies the town of Menton. It occupies a unique space, not just on the map, but in the imagination. It is the last French town before the Italian border, a place defined by its liminality, a serene frontier where the cultures of France and Italy have mingled for centuries to create a character entirely its own, a place that is neither entirely French nor wholly Italian, but uniquely Mentonnais. Affectionately known as the Pearl of France, a moniker it earned during the opulent Belle Époque, it is a destination of profound charm, a world away from the high-octane glamour of its Riviera neighbors like Cannes or Saint-Tropez. Its fame rests not on film festivals or royal casinos, but on something more elemental and enduring: the exceptional warmth of its sun, the lushness of its subtropical gardens, and the golden citrus fruit that has become its enduring symbol and the star of its most famous festival. It is a town that whispers rather than shouts. The approach to Menton from the west along the coast road reveals a classic Riviera scene of palm trees and grand hotels, but it is the view from the east, coming from Italy, that truly captures its essence. Here, the town appears as a tightly packed cascade of pastel-hued buildings. Their ochre, pink, and terracotta facades tumble down a steep hill to a placid bay, all crowned by the elegant, ochre-colored campanile of a Baroque basilica, a beacon watching over the red-tiled roofs. This is the historic heart, a visual promise of the rich story contained within. This initial impression is one of a town in perfect harmony with its setting. The curve of the Garavan Bay embraces the shore, where small fishing boats, known as pointus, bob gently beside more modern yachts. The shingle beaches are washed by a sea of impossible blues and greens. Behind the town, the mountains rise steeply, their slopes dotted with dark green cypresses and the silvery foliage of olive trees. It is a landscape of dramatic contrasts, from the gentle shoreline to the rugged alpine peaks, a composition that has captivated artists for centuries. The story of Menton is as layered and colorful as its old town, stretching back into the mists of prehistory. The area's sheltered caves, particularly the Balzi Rossi, Red Cliffs, just across the modern border in Italy, have yielded significant archaeological treasures. Here, in the late 19th century, researchers uncovered the remains of early modern humans. Famously dubbed Grimaldi Man, these skeletons, dating back tens of thousands of years, were among the first evidence of Cro-Magnon people in Europe. The significance of these findings cannot be overstated. They established the region as a veritable cradle of civilization, a place where our distant ancestors took shelter from the harsh ice ages that gripped the rest of the continent. The caves provided protection, the sea provided sustenance, and the uniquely mild climate offered a haven. These early inhabitants, with their burial rituals and rudimentary art, laid the very first human foundations in this sun-blessed landscape. Before the arrival of Rome, the coastline was inhabited by Ligurian tribes, a hardy people who occupied the mountainous coastal territory between the Rhone and the Arno rivers. They were known to the Greeks and Romans as fierce and independent, skilled sailors and warriors. They left behind few grand monuments, but their legacy persists in the ancient stone foundations of hilltop forts and in the very character of the people, a certain toughness and resilience forged by a life between the mountains and the sea. The Romans systematically conquered the region in the 2nd and 1st centuries BC to secure their lines of communication between Italy and their provinces in Gaul and Hispania. They constructed the great coastal road, the Via Julia Augusta, a vital artery of the empire. Its path ran directly through the Menton area, and remnants of it can still be traced. While no major Roman city stood on the site of modern Menton, numerous artifacts, including coins and fragments of pottery, indicate the presence of Roman villas and agricultural estates drawn by the same fertile land. After the fall of the Roman Empire, the region entered a long and turbulent period. It was subject to successive waves of invasion and migration, from the Visigoths to the Lombards. The coastline was particularly vulnerable to raids by Saracen pirates who operated from bases in North Africa and Spain. For centuries, life retreated from the coast to fortified, defensible villages in the hills. It was during this insecure era that the first fortified settlement, or castrum, began to take shape on the Pepin Hill above the bay, a site chosen purely for its defensive advantages. The town's name, Menton, first appeared in a written document on July 21, 1262, in a peace treaty between the city of Genoa and Charles of Anjou. By this time, the powerful maritime Republic of Genoa had asserted its control over much of the Ligurian coast. The Counts of Ventimiglia had built a castle on the hill, but it was the Genoese who truly fortified the settlement, recognizing its strategic importance overlooking the bay. This Genoese influence was profound, shaping the town's architecture, its dialect, and its maritime outlook for centuries to come. The true destiny of Menton, however, was forged in 1346. In a pivotal moment, the town and its lands were acquired from the Genoese Vento family by Charles Grimaldi of Monaco. This transaction began an intimate and complex association that would last for nearly 500 years, tying Menton's fate to that of the small but ambitious principality. This long period shaped the town in ways that are still visible, creating a deep-rooted connection that defines much of its pre-French history. It became the economic engine of the Grimaldi lands. For 5 centuries, Menton existed as a vital part of the Monegasque domain. It was, for much of this time, the larger and more economically important of the 2 main towns. Its wealth derived from the sprawling groves of olive trees that covered the surrounding hills, and, increasingly, the highly profitable cultivation of lemons. The Grimaldi princes, while ruling as feudal lords, understood that the prosperity of Menton was crucial to their own. They encouraged and taxed its trade, using the revenue to fund their court and ambitions. Life under the Grimaldi princes was one of relative stability, a valuable commodity in a region often beset by conflict between France, Savoy, and Genoa. The town was heavily fortified against the constant threat of pirate raids. Watchtowers were built along the coast, and the walls of the old town were strengthened. Inside these walls, a dense, vertical city grew, a labyrinth of steep, narrow streets, carrierera and vaulted passageways, pontils designed to confuse attackers and provide shade in the summer heat. The citizens carved out a life from the Mediterranean and from the terraced agricultural land, the restanques, that they painstakingly built into the steep slopes. These dry, stone-walled terraces are a testament to generations of human labor, transforming an inhospitable landscape into a productive one. They allowed for the cultivation of olives, vines, and, most importantly, lemons, which thrived in the sheltered, sun-drenched environment. The Grimaldi influence is felt in the very layout of the old town, which developed organically around their fortified castle. This influence is also seen most magnificently in the Baroque splendor of its principal church, the Basilica of Saint Michel Archange. This grand project was lavishly sponsored by the Grimaldi princes, particularly Honoré II and Louis IV, in the 17th century. They brought in the finest architects and artists to create a church that would be a powerful statement of their Catholic piety and their princely power. A rival to the cathedrals of larger states, the long period of Monegasque rule cemented a culture that was distinct from that of neighboring Provence. The end of this long era arrived with the revolutionary fervor that swept across Europe in 1848, the springtime of the peoples. The citizens of Menton, along with those of the neighboring town of Roquebrune, had grown weary of Monegasque rule. The grievances were primarily economic. The taxes levied by Prince Florestan I on their lemon exports, the town's economic lifeblood, were seen as crippling and unjust. Inspired by the winds of change, the 2 towns seceded from Monaco, declaring themselves free cities under the protection of the nearby Kingdom of Sardinia. This decade of independence was a period of great uncertainty. The free cities had their own flag and constitution, but remained in a political limbo. Finally, as the modern map of Italy was being drawn during the Risorgimento, a plebiscite was held in 1860. The population, seeing a more prosperous future with a major European power, voted overwhelmingly to be annexed by France. The French Emperor, Napoleon III, eager to secure this strategic stretch of coastline as a reward for his support of Italian unification, sealed the deal. He paid Prince Charles III of Monaco a compensation of 4 million francs for the loss of the 2 towns. It was a handsome sum that the prince would famously use to develop the barren rock of Monte Carlo into a world-class gambling resort, laying the foundation for modern Monaco's immense wealth. Thus, in 1861, Menton officially became French. This marked the beginning of a new chapter that would see it transformed from a provincial agricultural town into one of the most celebrated health resorts in Europe. This transformation was the hallmark of the Belle Époque, a golden age from the late 19th to the early 20th century. The catalyst was not a politician, but an English doctor named James Henry Bennet. Dr. Bennet came to Menton in a desperate state, seeking a cure for his advanced tuberculosis. He was so struck by the town's remarkably mild and dry winter climate that he not only recovered, but became its most fervent evangelist, documenting his experience in winter and spring on the shores of the Mediterranean. The book became a bestseller among the European upper classes. His writings, along with those of other physicians who studied the local climate, effectively put Menton on the map for the wealthy elites of Northern Europe. The British, in particular, flocked to the town, escaping the damp, smog-filled winters of the industrial age. They were soon followed by Russian aristocrats, German nobles, and wealthy Americans. These well-to-do winterers, or Hevrenens, did not just visit, they established a seasonal colony, building magnificent villas and shaping the town's development. They constructed the grand hotels that still line the seafront today: the Royal Westminster, the Grand Hotel National, the Hotel d'Orient. They built opulent private residences in a variety of revivalist styles, from neo-Gothic castles to Italianate palaces, surrounded by lush exotic gardens. The Villa Maria Serena, the Villa Isola Bella, and the Palais de Carnioles are all monuments to this era of opulent tourism and the immense wealth that poured into the town. The English influence was so strong that tea rooms, Anglican churches, and tennis clubs proliferated. The most famous visitor of all was Queen Victoria herself, who stayed several times at the Grand Hotel du Cap Martin on the western edge of town. Her presence, and that of her court, cemented Menton's status as a fashionable and exclusive destination. The town's social life revolved around afternoon teas, carriage rides along the promenade, concerts in the new municipal casino, and gentle excursions into the surrounding hills to paint watercolors of the landscape. It was a refined, ordered, and leisurely world. This golden age came to an abrupt end with the outbreak of the First World War in 1914. The grand hotels were converted into hospitals and the international clientele vanished. The 20th century brought further challenges, including the economic depression of the 1930s and the trauma of the Second World War, which saw the town occupied first by Italians and then by Germans. In the post-war years, the age of aristocratic wintering faded completely, replaced by the more democratic tourism of the modern era. Yet the town never fully embraced the mass manner, high-rise development of some of its Riviera neighbors. It retained its slightly old-fashioned charm, its focus on gardens and culture, and its serene pace of life, all underpinned by the unique geographical privilege that had shaped its history from the very beginning. This privilege is rooted in its very position on the globe. The town is nestled in a protective amphitheater of mountains, the last dramatic peaks of the Alps before they meet the sea. This formidable rock wall, including Mont Agel and Mont Urs, rises to over 1,100 meters, just a few kilometers from the coast. This barrier is crucial as it shields the coastline from the cold, dry Mistral and Tramontane winds that can buffet other parts of Provence and the Rhône Valley. These winds are forced to pass over the top, leaving the coast in a calm pocket of air, a phenomenon known as a Foehn effect. The deep, crescent-shaped Baía de Garavan on the eastern side of the Old Town is particularly sheltered and acts as a vast thermal regulator, its waters storing the sun's heat. The town's eastward orientation ensures it bathes in sunshine from early morning, warming the land and sea throughout the day. The result is an exceptional microclimate, a small pocket of subtropical warmth that is demonstrably milder than anywhere else on the French Riviera, especially in winter. The statistics are telling. Menton boasts an average of 316 days of sunshine per year. Its average temperature in January, the coldest month, is around 9 DEGC, 48 DE 5th, several degrees warmer than Nice or Marseille. Snow is an exceptionally rare event, occurring perhaps once a decade, and a hard frost is major news. This climate is not merely a pleasant feature. It is the fundamental element that has allowed for the successful cultivation of tender plants like citrus fruits and the creation of the extraordinary exotic gardens for which the town is famous. The rich, layered history and unique geographical position of Menton have cultivated a cultural identity as distinct as its famous lemons. This identity is not a monolith, but a vibrant and living fusion, a daily negotiation between French civic life and a deeply ingrained Italian sensibility. It exists in the foundations of the Old Town, in the syntax of local conversation, and in the very flavor of its food. This is the soul of the town, a product of centuries spent as a Ligurian port under Monegasque rule, before becoming a jewel of the French Riviera. This dual heritage is most audibly present in the now rarely spoken Mentonais dialect. It is not simply a variant of French, but a true Romance dialect, part of the Occitan family, but heavily influenced by Ligurian Italian. To hear it spoken by the older generation is to hear the town's history, a linguistic bridge between cultures. While modern French is the language of daily life, this historic tongue is preserved in folk songs, in the names of old streets and squares, and by cultural associations dedicated to keeping the town's specific heritage alive against a tide of homogenization. Nowhere is this cultural vibrancy more spectacularly on display than during the annual Fête du Citron, the Lemon Festival. For 3 weeks in February and March, the town explodes in a riot of yellow and orange, a celebration so unique it has become world-renowned. It is far more than a simple harvest festival. It is a monumental artistic endeavor, a carnival of citrus that mobilizes the entire community and transforms the cityscape into a fragrant, surrealist dreamscape. Its origins, however, were rather humble. In 1929, an ambitious hotelier at the Hotel Riviera decided to organize a private exhibition of flowers and citrus fruits in the hotel's gardens to attract wealthy winter guests. The event was a small but charming success. The following year, it grew, spilling out into the town with a procession of simple carts, decorated with orange and lemon trees. The municipality, seeing the potential to animate the traditionally quiet late winter season, officially founded the Fête du Citron in 1934, establishing it as a major event on the Riviera calendar. The idea that would come to define the festival, the creation of giant sculptures from fruit, was first introduced in the Merveilles Gardens in 1936. Early designs were relatively simple two-dimensional motifs, but over the decades, driven by civic pride and artistic ambition, the displays grew in scale and complexity. The metal frames became more elaborate, the designs more three-dimensional, and the themes more imaginative, evolving into the towering animated structures that visitors marvel at today. It is a testament to the town's ingenuity and its dedication to its golden symbol. The logistics behind the festival are staggering. Planning begins almost as soon as the previous festival ends. A theme is chosen and artists and designers submit proposals for the sculptures and floats. Once the designs are selected, skilled metal workers spend months fabricating the complex wire armatures that will serve as the skeletons for these citrus giants. These frames, some weighing several tons, are intricate works of engineering in their own right, designed to be structurally sound while perfectly rendering the desired shape, be it a dragon, a cathedral, or a character from a fairy tale. Then comes the fruit. Over 140 tons of lemons and oranges are required for the festival each year. A common misconception is that these are the prized Menton lemons. In reality, the local IGP lemon is far too rare and valuable. The vast majority of the fruit is imported from Spain for its uniform size and durable peel. A dedicated team of workers, the fruto, then begins the painstaking task of attaching each individual fruit to the metal frames. This is done with a specific type of colored rubber band, with over 500,000 being used in a typical year. This process takes place in large warehouses in the weeks leading up to the festival. It is a race against time, a flurry of activity as hundreds of people work to cover the vast surfaces. It is a communal effort, a tradition that brings together generations. As the festival runs, a maintenance team is constantly at work, inspecting the sculptures daily and replacing any fruit that has started to spoil, ensuring the displays remain pristine and vibrant for the hundreds of thousands of visitors who come from all over the world to witness the spectacle. The heart of the daytime festival experience is the exhibition in the Merveilles Gardens. To enter is to step into another world. Imagine a theme like myths and legends. You might be greeted by a 10-meter-high Poseidon, his beard a cascade of lemons, his trident gleaming with oranges rising from a sea of blue flowers. Further on, a Chinese dragon, its scales a complex mosaic of alternating fruits, might snake its way for 50 meters along the central promenade. Each sculpture is a marvel of color, texture, and ingenuity. The air is thick with the clean, uplifting scent of citrus. The daytime spectacle culminates in the Corso des Fruits d'Or, the Golden Fruit Parade, held on several Sunday afternoons along the Promenade du Soleil. This is the festival at its most dynamic. The gigantic citrus-covered floats, which are different from the static sculptures in the gardens, roll along the seafront, their colors dazzling against the blue of the Mediterranean. These are often animated, with moving parts that bring the creations to life. A Viking longship might have oars that row, or a mythical bird might flap its citrus wings. The parade is a full-blown carnival procession. Between the floats come international troops of brass bands, their music echoing across the bay. Folkloric groups in traditional costumes perform lively dances. Acrobats and stilt walkers entertain the crowds, while flamboyant dancers in elaborate feathered costumes add a touch of samba energy. And everywhere there is confetti. Official confetti throwers are part of the parade, showering the cheering spectators who line the promenade, creating a joyous, festive blizzard of color and sound. As dusk falls, the festival offers a different, more magical experience. The Beauvais gardens are transformed into the Jardin de Lumière, or Gardens of Light. The static sculptures are illuminated with sophisticated lighting systems. The effect is transformative. The fruits seem to glow from within. Colored floodlights paint the scenes in dramatic hues, creating long shadows and highlighting details invisible in daylight. The atmosphere becomes quiet, enchanting, and distinctly romantic, a gentle nocturnal stroll through a gallery of glowing art. On several Thursday evenings, the energy rises again for the Corso Nocturne, the night parade. The same floats from the Sunday processions parade again along the promenade, but this time they are brilliantly lit. The effect is breathtaking. The floats become river of light, gliding through the darkness. The music seems more resonant, the atmosphere more electric. The night parade culminates in a spectacular fireworks display over the bay. The bursts of color reflecting on the calm water, with the illuminated old town as a backdrop, provide an unforgettable climax to the festivities. Beyond the festival, Menton's cultural soul finds its most profound expression in the art of one of the 20th century's most versatile and enigmatic figures, Jean Cocteau. The poet, playwright, artist, and filmmaker discovered Menton in the 1950s and developed a deep and abiding love for the town. He was captivated by its light, its authenticity, and its atmosphere, which he saw as a refuge from the intellectual and social pressures of Paris. He found in Menton a place where his personal mythology, steeped in Greek legends, felt at home under the Mediterranean sun. His most personal and immersive gift to the town is the Salle des Mariages, the municipal wedding hall. In 1957, the town's mayor suggested Cocteau decorate the room. He embraced the project with extraordinary passion, working for 2 years to create a total work of art. He covered the walls and ceiling in bold, fluid frescoes using a pastel palette of blues, yellows, and reds that perfectly complements the Riviera light streaming through the windows. The paintings are a captivating and highly personal reinterpretation of the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice. To be married in this room is to be enveloped in Cocteau's vision. On the wall behind the mayor's desk, a Mentonese bride and groom are depicted in profile, their features rendered with elegant simplicity. On the side walls, the tragic story unfolds. Orpheus tames the wild beasts with his lyre. He leads Eurydice from the underworld, a single tear on his cheek. He is ultimately torn apart by the Maenads. The figures are stylized, dreamlike, and unmistakably Cocteau's. He also designed the Moorish-style lamps, the red velvet chairs, and the leopard print carpet, leaving his mark on every surface. Cocteau's public legacy in Menton is cemented in 2 museums. The first, which he personally designed, is housed in the 17th century bastion at the end of the quay wall by the Old Port. This small fort, originally built by the princes of Monaco to defend the harbor, was derelict when Cocteau discovered it. He cleaned it, designed its layout, and created the magnificent pebble mosaics on the exterior walls and courtyard floor. The mosaics, made of gray and white stones from the adjacent beach, depict lizards and other motifs from his personal bestiary. Inside this intimate space, he curated a collection of his works, focusing on his Innamorati, the Lovers series of drawings. Powerful, simple line drawings that explore themes of love and desire. He also displayed some of his unique ceramics, created in collaboration with potters in nearby Villefranche-sur-Mer. The Bastion Museum is not just a gallery, it is a work of art in itself. A space where the artist's hand is visible everywhere, a highly personal statement of his connection to the sea and the town. A much larger and more comprehensive collection of his work is housed in the Musée Cocteau collection Sévère Wundermann. This modern museum, opened in 2011, was designed by the French architect Rudy Riccoti. Its striking and controversial facade consists of jagged, white concrete pillars that seem to writhe like tentacles or flames, intended to evoke the complex and often tormented nature of Cocteau's creative spirit. The building itself is a bold architectural statement on the seafront. The museum was created to house the immense collection of a passionate American collector, Severin Wunderman, who donated over 1,800 works to the town of Menton on the condition that a dedicated museum be built. The collection is the largest public holding of Cocteau's work in the world and showcases his incredible versatility. It includes not just his famous drawings and prints, but paintings, photographs, manuscript pages, sculptures, ceramics, and clips from his influential films like Beauty and the Beast and Orpheus. While Cocteau is the artistic giant most associated with Menton, he was not the only creative talent to find refuge and inspiration here. The celebrated New Zealand short story writer Catherine Mansfield spent a crucial and productive period of her life in the town. In 1920, battling the tuberculosis that would eventually claim her life, she moved into the Villa Isola Bella in the Caravan district. Here, in a small writing room overlooking the bay, she wrote some of her finest stories, including The Daughters of the Late Colonel and Miss Brill. Another significant literary figure was the Spanish novelist Vicente Blasco Ibáñez, author of the international bestseller The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. In the 1920s, he bought a property above the old town and created a home and garden, Fontana Rosa, dedicated to his favorite writers. He saw Menton as a paradise, a place where he could write in peace. His presence added to the town's reputation as a cosmopolitan haven for artists and intellectuals, a quiet, sunlit stage for some of the great creative minds of the early 20th century. Beyond the grand spectacles of the Fête du Citron and the artistic imprints of its famous residents, the soul of Menton finds its most tranquil and enduring expression in its gardens. These are not mere municipal parks or decorative afterthoughts. They are the living, breathing legacy of the town's golden age, a collection of botanical treasures made possible by the unique microclimate that has defined Menton's destiny. Each garden is a world unto itself, a testament to the passionate, often eccentric, vision of the wealthy expatriates who created them. These creators, drawn to Menton during the Belle Époque, were often amateur botanists and dedicated plant collectors. They used their immense wealth to import rare and exotic species from the far corners of their respective empires, turning the hillsides around the town into a series of private Edens. Today, several of these magnificent gardens are open to the public, offering a journey not just through beautiful landscapes, but through the history of botany and the art of garden design. Perhaps the most immersive and scientifically important of these is the Jardin Botanique Exotique de Menton, more famously known as Val Ramée. Its story begins in 1905, when Sir Percy Radcliffe, a former governor of Malta, bought the property. He was a passionate plantsman and began to create a garden based around collections of tropical and subtropical species. The garden was further developed by a subsequent owner before being acquired by the French National Museum of Natural History in 1966, securing its future as a serious botanical institution. To walk through Val Ramée today is to be transported to another continent. The garden is managed as a series of geographical zones, creating dense, lush landscapes that feel a world away from the Mediterranean. There is a grove of giant bamboo, a forest of tropical fruit trees including avocado and banana, and a remarkable collection of sacred and ritualistic plants from around the globe. The air is humid, filled with the scent of damp earth and exotic blossoms. It is a garden that appeals as much to the intellect as to the senses. The most precious resident of Val Ramée and a symbol of its global importance is a specimen of the Sophora toromiro. This small tree with delicate yellow flowers is now completely extinct in its native habitat of Easter Island, a victim of deforestation. The tree at Val Ramée, grown from seeds collected by the explorer Thor Heyerdahl, is part of a global effort to preserve the species. This makes the garden a vital botanical ark, a living museum dedicated to the conservation of the world's plant biodiversity. If Val Ramée is a scientific institution, the Serre de la Madame is the masterpiece of a single obsessive artist. Its creator was Lawrence Johnston, an American-born, British-educated landscape designer who had already achieved fame for creating Hitcote Manor Garden in England. one of the most influential gardens of the 20th century. Having perfected the English country garden style, Johnston sought a new challenge and a climate where he could grow the tender and subtropical plants he adored. He found his canvas in Menton in 1924. He purchased a hillside farm with olive groves and a vineyard and spent the next 30 years transforming it. He was a meticulous designer and a prodigious plant collector. He terraced the steep slope, creating a series of distinct garden rooms connected by winding paths, stairways, and tranquil pools. He traveled the world on plant hunting expeditions, bringing back rare species from South Africa, China, and South America. His genius lay in his ability to combine these exotics with native Mediterranean plants in a way that felt harmonious and artful. A walk through Serre de la Madone is a journey through Johnston's mind. One moves from a shady terrace framed by ancient olive trees to a clearing filled with vibrant South African proteus. A grand double staircase leads down to a serene reflection pool guarded by classical statues. Shady corners are filled with rare camellias and magnolias, while sun-drenched terraces host collections of aloes and succulents. It is a garden of subtle effects, of carefully controlled views, and of immense botanical richness, a place of quiet contemplation and enduring beauty. In complete contrast to the botanical focus of Johnston, the Jardin Fontana Rosa was the exuberant and romantic creation of a literary figure. The Spanish novelist and politician Vicente Blasco Ibáñez, author of the international bestseller The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, bought a property in Menton in 1922. He named it Fontana Rosa and set about creating a garden that would be a physical manifestation of his literary passions and a tribute to his favorite authors. The garden is designed in a colorful, almost theatrical Spanish style, reminiscent of the gardens of Valencia and Andalusia. Blasco Ibáñez filled it with features that celebrated literature. A long pergola is decorated with ceramic portraits of famous novelists like Flaubert, Balzac, and Dickens. A grand rotunda with tiled benches is dedicated to Cervantes, the author of Don Quixote. The main gate is an exact replica of the gate to his home in Valencia. The entire space is a riot of colorful ceramic tiles, fountains, ponds, and statues. Fontana Rosa is less a plantsman's garden and more a writer's dreamscape. Its purpose was not botanical collection, but romantic inspiration and social gathering. For many years after the author's death, the garden fell into disrepair, but it has since been acquired by the town and is undergoing a slow process of restoration. It remains a fascinating and unique space, a testament to a flamboyant personality and a monument to the power of literature, its colorful ceramics gleaming amongst the palms and citrus trees. The legacy of the great garden creators extends to other properties as well. The grounds of the Palais de Carnival, the former summer residence of the Grimaldi princes and now the town's Museum of Fine Arts, have been transformed into Europe's most extensive collection of citrus trees. It is a living conservatory, showcasing over 100 different varieties. Here one can see not just the famous Menton lemon, but a bewildering array of its relatives, from the strange gnarled fingers of the Buddha's hand citron to the fragrant bergamot orange used in perfumes and Earl Grey tea. Another jewel is the garden of the Villa Maria Sarina. Built by Charles Garnier, the architect of the Paris Opera, the villa enjoys an exceptional location on the Garivan Bay, right at the Italian border. Its garden tumbles down to the sea and benefits from the warmest spot in Menton's microclimate. It is renowned for its magnificent collection of palm trees and cycads, as well as a colossal dragon tree from the Canary Islands. It is a quintessential vision of the tropical Riviera dream. This deep connection to the land, to gardens, and to agriculture remains a vital part of Menton's modern identity. While tourism is now the primary economic driver, the town has not forgotten its roots. The revival of the Menton lemon industry is a point of immense civic pride. Local chefs have embraced it, and it features prominently on menus throughout the town. Beyond its use in the classic tarte au citron, its zest and juice are used to flavor everything from risotto and fresh fish to artisanal ice creams and cocktails. The famous Menton Limoncello, a sweet, potent liqueur made by infusing lemon peels in pure alcohol, is a local specialty. You can find artisanal jams, marmalades, and candies, as well as lemon-infused olive oil, which adds a bright, fragrant note to salads and grilled vegetables. The lemon is not just a symbol, it is an active ingredient in the town's contemporary culinary scene, a direct link between the agricultural past and the gastronomic present. The local cuisine, in general, reflects the town's dual heritage. At the market and in local restaurants, you can find dishes that are purely Ligurian alongside those that are classically Provençal. A typical Mentonais meal might start with barbe joint, small fritters stuffed with chard, ricotta, and parmesan, a specialty shared with Monaco. This could be followed by fresh fish from the bay, simply grilled with a drizzle of local olive oil and a squeeze of Menton lemon. Another local speciality is the pichadé, Menton's answer to the Niçoise pissaladière. While the Niçoise version is based on caramelized onions, the Menton pichadé is made with a fondue of fresh tomatoes, garlic, and olive oil, spread on a focaccia-like base, and sometimes garnished with anchovies and black olives. It is a simple, rustic, and delicious taste of the town's Italian soul. Every bite tells a story of cross-barrière culinary exchange. Life in modern Menton continues to be defined by its frontier position. The border with Italy is almost seamless. Thousands of workers cross it daily in both directions. It is common to pop over to the market in Ventimiglia on a Friday, or for Italians to come to Menton for its beaches and shops. This constant, fluid exchange keeps the town's dual identity alive and well. It is a place that feels open and cosmopolitan, yet it has managed to retain a strong sense of its own unique character, and a pace of life that is noticeably slower and more relaxed than its neighbors. In conclusion, Menton is a town of captivating contrasts and quiet harmonies. It is French in its elegance and civic order, yet Italian in its warmth, its colors, and the rhythms of its daily life. It is a town dominated by a dramatic mountain landscape, yet its gaze is turned perpetually towards the gentle sea. It is a modern resort destination that lives and breathes its rich history, from its prehistoric caves to its Belle Epoque palaces. Its identity is inextricably linked to the warmth of its sun and the fragrance of its lemons. Its greatest treasures are not museums filled with artifacts, but living gardens filled with the scents and colors of the world. It is a town that reveals its secrets slowly, rewarding those who take the time to wander its steep medieval lanes, to rest in the shade of its exotic trees, and to savor the simple, authentic. It has weathered the centuries with grace, and it remains today what it has been for over a century, a true pearl, polished by the sun, the sea, and the patient hands of history.